Welcome to First the Future, where we explore the past, present, and future of digital engineering and PLM. In this episode, we're joined by Dr. Graeme Short from TECHNIA and Stuart Preston, founder and CEO of Oakhill Astronautics, a startup on a mission to bring fresh food to extreme environments anywhere from disaster zones to low Earth orbit. Together, we'll dive into Stuart's journey, the engineering behind his rugged garden concept, and how collaboration with TECHNIA is helping turn bold ideas into real-world solutions. Let's dive in.
Stuart Preston, welcome to First of the Future. I understand it's a big day today. I've seen your LinkedIn post this morning, which says that you've put behind you your safe job, and now Oakhill is your full-time occupation. So congratulations, if that's the right word. So it's the perfect thing to start on then. So the floor is yours to say how you got from where you were to where you are today to Oakhill being your full-time job and kind of what your ambitions are to the future. So run with that however you like.
Sure, will do. I mean, I think we'll start sort of very early days on why I started a space company. I've just loved space my whole life from, I don't know, probably the age of 10 when I contacted NASA to get some project materials for a primary school folder. I've always loved space, but my dad was a farmer. I never saw myself going down that route. I always was interested in engineering. I think from a young age, I wanted to be an architect or something like that. But, you know, I sort of grew up, went through high school, did all the engineering subjects at high school. And in the end, decided that actually probably a career in the military is what would stand me in good stead to, you know, project me to where I wanted to be. So I joined the Air Force as a avionics engineer and worked on several platforms, unmanned vehicles, I-Star platforms, transport aircraft, things like that. And as part of that, traveled the world. I got to see so much, but I spent over a year of my career in America and Canada and worked with the US Air Force a lot, which, you know, from a young age, I couldn't have imagined that. But then I began to get the thought of maybe this isn't what I want to do anymore, especially traveling around. I wanted to be settled down and start to, you know, grow the family and give our family a little sort of settled area. So I left the Air Force and I joined Lloyd's Banking Group as a Scrum Master, getting into lean because continuous improvement, things like that is a personal passion. Weird, but it's something I like is continuous improvement. But yeah, so Scrum Master, and then I went off to Thales, the large defense engineering firm, as an engineering manager, which gave me another broad set of skills to, you know, put in my Batman utility belt. But ultimately, I wanted to go my own path, and so I started Oakhill Astronautics, and you know, it's been a roller coaster up to today, where I've stepped off of that full-time job at Thales, you know, the secured income, the guaranteed mortgage payer, to do this full-time.
Yeah. So there's a few things there out of that, you know, that kind of that letter to NASA looking for materials, but kind of growing up on a farm as well and kind of seeing that environment. Is that where it all comes together in what Oakhill's trying to do in terms of the products that you want to make?
Exactly that. My passion for space, my passion for engineering, and the family history of farming, which obviously I kept going, growing vegetables in the garden, and you can't just ditch that. It's part of my history, part of my life. But yeah, bringing it all together into one thing, and that's what we're doing.
Yeah. So the first time I came across you was at Spacecom in London last year when I was off walking the floor and talking to other people and things like that. And I came back to the TECHNIA stand there and found you and Chris staring at the screen. And you were quite interested in what 3D Experience platform would do. But what really struck me was that most people come and want to see all the flashy bits, you know, all the CAD modeling and stuff like that. And you were really interested in the kind of the requirements end, kind of really starting at the beginning and building the foundation. And you kind of went off for the rest of the day, and I was talking to Chris, and it was like, oh, that was a really interesting conversation. We were talking about proper engineering, not just the fun bits in the middle of kind of designing things and stuff like that. And I thought, okay, this could go somewhere. And here we are today with, as you say, kind of leaving Thales and doing this. So tell us what Oakhill is there to do. What is it that you want to do with this company and the kind of products that you want to create?
So, I mean, our tagline is grow wherever you go. What we're focusing on is developing hydroponic systems for growing fresh food in extreme environments. So, as we always say, it's from disaster zone to the front line to in orbit. We want to be able to give everybody everywhere the chance to be able to eat fresh fruit and veg, whether that's to supplement a ration pack that they've been given or to, just give them the experience of growing. It's a proven principle. It's been studied with astronauts, that being able to smell, to grow, to touch, to eat fresh food. It gives you a morale boost. It gives you a massive dopamine boost just to see something grow, really, to help it grow. But it's not always possible, especially in space, on a space station. But from my personal experience in the military, being in these sort of more extreme locations, is you're relying on either shipped in food or, stabilized food like ration packs and things like that. And after a considerable amount of time, it does begin to grate. It begins to drain your morale because you just want to see something green and taste something fresh. I'm not saying you don't get fresh food and things when you're deployed, but it would just be nice to see something growing. One of the things that sort of sticks with me, one of my core memories, I guess, is when I was deployed, on a frontline base, is everything was brown. It was dusty everywhere. There was a few trees on camp, but they were covered in sand. You'd have a sandstorm blow through, and it would just be nice to see something, flourishing and growing.
So Rugged Garden as a product then, for those environments, is it intended to be kind of large scale and kind of batch or more personal, so that you do have that kind of personal connection with it?
So what we've developed with Rugged Garden right now is a more personal experience. It's choose what plants you want to grow, what you want to taste, because I like anything fresh, so chilies, strawberries, whatever. But as an example, maybe I like chilies, but you prefer strawberries. So we'd have two separate Rugged Gardens where I'm growing my chilies and you're growing your strawberries. That's what you want. And so it's a more personal thing. But the systems that we've developed are scalable and configurable, where it doesn't have to be just a personal thing. We could make it a lot bigger if that's what the customer wanted.
So containerized solutions, kind of airdrop solutions, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and that's it. Then I just to get us started, to generate some revenue, things like that. We've gone down the personal garden route first.
Okay.
But always thinking that this needs to be scalable, this needs to be configurable. So, let's make our garden wall or whatever. Yes. That's what it's all about.
So an important point in there is kind of, and we'll come on to this in a minute, the ambition is to go into space to do this in that environment. But you're a founder, you're a startup, you are CEO, finance, or a investment wrangler, all of those things.
Yep.
You need an income stream now to be able to pay the bills, to do the things you want to do in order to reach that goal. So what's the kind of, is that the business plan? These portable Rugged Gardens are, I'm not going to use the word easy. All right, I am going to use the word easy to produce and easy to design. They're more manageable in terms of a design space and a requirements list. Is that the idea?
Yeah, that's right. It's the first step on our path. It's get this finished, get this selling, and generate revenue to then fund the more ambitious parts of the company, the space program, if it is building garden walls and things like that, where like inner city flats and things could then be able to have a garden in their flat. These are the ambitions. These are the big goals, but let's start with something that we can ship out the door and sell.
Yeah. Okay. So okay, as we've said, you are moving out of that safe space and doing this full time and putting all your energies into it. And this is the business model for now for that kind of base load cash generation in order to do it. Thinking about going into space then, what are the challenges in terms of taking that modular concept, ground-based nominally, although it might drop out of the sky, and translating that into going into space? How does your skill set and experiences with Thales and the RAF and things like that prepare you for the challenge that is to come? You kind of know what's coming when you think about getting this technology ready for space.
Yeah. It kind of goes back to what you were saying about when we first met. I do have my degree in systems engineering, and that's kind of where that more feeds into that experience feeds into this. We have to think about compliance. We have to think about regulatory constraints. We have to think about all the different requirements that come in, especially how our system will work in a larger system of systems. We're talking about the International Space Station's going to come down to Earth in the next sort of 5 to 7 years. We have all these commercial space stations that will be going up to replace that habitation in space. But these are incredibly intricate systems. That's what they are. And our system needs to fit into that. So I'm starting from the beginning with this project, not as I wouldn't say not a pie in the sky dream, but I'm thinking about this right from the start as like, right, what are our requirements and what are our constraints, and how does the technology we've developed for Rugged Garden fit into that? So there's probably going to be a lot of adjustments needed to that configurable system, but we have to think about that now, and that's where my experience comes in. Is I'm not coming in with a pen on paper concept. I'm thinking straight away with materials compliance and things like that. Like we have to think about that from day one. Otherwise, we're going to delay the project later on because we discover that, well, this doesn't work at all. And that's what pushes projects into years over budget. Get a solid set of requirements at the beginning, and you can get through these things really quickly.
So I guess that's quite important as well, because Rugged Garden will test the system, the hydroponic system, the technology at a kind of fundamental level. But you need to get ahead of these things, as you say. You need to be talking about these commercial space stations, talking to those operators and those designers now, so you understand what the interfaces are going to be, what the space constraints are going to be, what the flight requirements are going to be to physically get it up there as well, so that you are designing your orbital systems now to meet the requirements of the future before the future has arrived.
Yeah, that's it. You hit the nail on the head. Is let's think about the future now, so that we don't get hit or slowed down as we get there, And
I don't want to, let's not dwell too much on the technology, but in terms of the things that you've seen with kind of 3D experience and the integration of that digital spread, that's going to help, or you think that's going to help you in terms of the technology as it is, but maybe the help that TECHNIA can provide you at each kind of step of the way along that journey.
Yeah. What I loved about 3DX was the more model-based systems engineering. How one change in the system can affect multiple parts of it. So being able to flag that within it, you can see what else is affected when you make a change.
Yes.
And TECHNIA are going to help me on that journey, and it's really important.
Yeah, I'm quite excited to see how it all fits together, because you're right. Once you get that foundation right, you've done your requirements capture, you can link that to your MBSE solutions. You can link that straight onto your physical products that you're designing, and link those requirements back to test management requirements at the end for doing, subsystem testings and things like that. So I guess that means it's a long road, but when you go to whoever is going to provide that next orbital solution, you have all your data ready to go in one environment. You can just show it to them and say, look, we're ready for you guys.
Exactly.
When do you want it? let's put aside kind of manufacturing and production and things like that. I mean, that's not really the fun stuff, is it? In terms of that's just the delivery of the system at that point. But that must be an issue as well in terms of where you are on the journey. Putting funding together to do the fundamental engineering and building the concept, but it's going to consume a lot of capital, I guess, to worry. Once you have to start worrying about manufacturing and shipping and testing and compliance and things like that, these are things which you need to be, I guess, not worrying about right now, but aware that these are going to be things that you'll have to think about in the future.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, through being involved in the space industry quite heavily for the last year, and networking with people who are doing this very thing, is delivering things to space, whether that's a satellite or something to the space station, is I can draw on those experiences, find the pain points, and build that into our processes. And like I said, delivery, manufacturing, and things like that. These are things that have been done countless times before.
Yes.
We're not starting from scratch here, so it's learn those lessons. But we are working with something not fundamentally new, but the way we're approaching this is quite a new, novel way of doing it. So yeah, just being on top of it is really important. But being able to communicate that we are on top of it is really important for, like you said, generating that capital and things like that, because investors aren't looking for, or aren't going to be looking at people who haven't developed their idea enough. Like, you can't be too early stage. And it is an issue that we've had in the past sort of 6 months or so as I've been communicating with investors, is we have been too early stage. So now by involving TECHNIA, we can sort of jumpstart it a little bit and show that we're not just, I'll say again, a pie in the sky idea.
Yeah, I guess the word is probably being prepared, isn't it? You want to show to whoever you're talking to that you're prepared for the next step. You've done your due diligence now. That's a solid base, and you're ready to do the next thing and go forwards. So
yeah. Nail in the head. Due diligence. That's it. Nail in the head there.
So, kind of on this kind of year-long journey today, what are the biggest lessons you've learned? What would Stuart now tell Stuart a year ago that you might do a little bit different to kind of speed this along? Or is it's just a journey? You take all the experiences and you kind of roll it up and go, okay, that is what it is.
Yeah, I think it has been quite a natural journey. I started off with the veterans founders program on Barclays Eagle Labs, which gave me a sort of kind of little base knowledge, and then from there have tried to engage with as many sort of people that can help me and mentor me along the way. Because I've never run a business before. Like a year ago, I could not have told you anything really about running a business. Well, a year and a half ago, really. But it has been a pretty natural journey. It's maybe been slower than some because I've had to have a full-time job to pay the mortgage and such. Some people can probably jump in. If you've got a revenue generating business that's going to give you cash flow in a month, then you're going to get through this journey a lot quicker. But what we're building is a little more intricate, and we're not generating revenue quickly because we're designing something. We're building something that hasn't really been done before. So it's not a quick one, but I'm just picking up lessons as I go.
Yeah. And so, okay, that's looking kind of a year into the past, a year into the future. Where do you see Oakhill in a year? What do you hope to achieve in that time?
A lot. I'd like the company to be generating revenue through Rugged Garden. That'll be our kind of foundational product. And at that point, I'd hope to, rather than having a massive engineering team on it, but always a sales team on that part. Whilst the engineering is, really up and running on our space program. We're already engaging with the NASA and things like that to get that ball rolling. But in January, we'll be going out to Florida for the Space Expo there to start chatting with customers and getting their requirements and seeing what they need from us. So by that, if we're gathering that in January, a year from now, I'd be, thinking at least preliminary design review and things on our space program, and hopefully beyond that, looking at manufacturing and things like that, and what we can get going. Company size, I'm the only employee, but I have a lot of like advisors and people that work with us to develop, or they have been working with us to develop Rugged Garden. But yeah, I'd like to be moving on to having a lot of full-time employees by then. Really, yeah,
It's
great and a solid foundation.
Yeah, well, it's exciting times, and we're kind of lucky, proud, and honoured to be kind of on the journey with you, Stuart. So I think we'll leave it there and maybe come back again another time and see if all those plans came off and what the future did look like for Oakhill and you guys. And yeah, shoot for the moon. What could go wrong?
That's it. It's a moonshot.
Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Graeme.
That was First the Future, the TECHNIA podcast series and our episode on the journey of Oakhill Astronautics. A huge thank you to Stuart Preston and Dr. Graeme Short for a fascinating conversation about innovation, resilience, and the future of growing food in space and beyond. To learn more about how TECHNIA supports pioneering companies and emerging technologies, visit technia.com or simply follow us on LinkedIn. Thank you for listening, and until next time, keep imagining, exploring, and engineering the future.